Well, hello, all you YouTube individuals. This lighting is very unflattering, but that's besides the point. So, I'm a vacuum collector, as you've probably seen in my past videos, and a lot of time and attention in my life has been directed towards vacuum cleaners as opposed to lawnmowers lately. I still repair and collect vintage lawnmowers, but that's way more low key. I have them all organized on a shelf. I'm not doing as much as I usually do. If you're wondering what I'm doing with my hands right now, I'm just building up a Kirby, specifically transmission parts. Uh, this video is about vacuum collecting and how to be a collector and not a hoarder. Because there are some vacuum cleaner collecting channels that I'm very fond of, but collection, that word's being extended a little past its definition. And that's alright. I mean, as long as you're happy, really. But, you know, there's you can make your passion and your hobby a little nicer on yourself. So I'll go through that, and then I guess I'll see what I'm talking about by the end of the video. So, to keep it simple, the main thing that separates a hoard, or assortment rather, from a collection is just organization. Plainly just putting your machines on shelves, making sure your machines are in good condition. That's the main thing. Now, I grew up repairing and collecting vacuum cleaners, so of course I had my parents give me a fair share of, oh god, not another one, whenever I'd come home with a new vacuum, because they had a different perspective on it than me, and while they didn't tell me, it's also something you should understand innately. That perspective being, the average person only has one vacuum cleaner, and, we look across them so swiftly. But, because the average person only has one vacuum cleaner, what we may see as just a little acquisition, a little side project, a little nothing, in reality, you're bringing another whole appliance into your house. So it's important that you have it at least running reasonably well before you go piling on more machines to it. So that's the main thing. I do clean and repack these bearings if I get a Kirby in with this older style transmission. It's actually easier if you slide it on the shaft, because then it doesn't all go down in the hole. So, excuse me. So, yes, it's really important that you're bringing another whole appliance into your house. You have to clean it up. You have to make it in good condition. Otherwise, it starts to look like a hoard. And that's when smells start to develop. I work in a vacuum shop. You can't see it, but over that way, those are all our trade-ins. We give a discount to customers if they give us their old vacuum cleaner. Not only does it prevent returns, because, the only person who doesn't like their new vacuum cleaner is someone who's unfamiliar with it, and it's a little rude, but it forces them to use their new tool. And over some experience with my boss, I think we don't really sell refurbished cheap garbage vacuums beside Shark, so we're selling quality vacuums. A lot of what's over there is Sharks and really old Kirbys that aren't working as they're supposed to. So, I lost my point. But you're bringing another whole appliance into your house, and, oh yes, smells. Smells, that's it. Those stink. It happens. What are you going to do? You're bringing a bunch of dirt into a different place. Now, a lot of the grossest vacuums roll into the shop for service. They're not usually trade-ins, because the people with the conscience to replace their vacuums don't let it get that stinky. So we have our hoard over here, and it doesn't smell all that bad. the really stinky ones, we just throw them straight in the trash. That's something about vacuum cleaner repairs you don't hear a lot about. There is so much waste, even if you try and repair and harvest everything you possibly can. And I do, and I've been procrastinating on that a little bit. And we have a veritable hoard over there. And the thing is, besides some of the full bags I haven't taken out yet, that's probably reflective of someone's collection. And that's just nasty. And you gotta realize you're subjecting your family members to that. You can't be too upset when they're like, no more vacuums. This place stinks like shit. There we go. Like, that's just the way it is. We're working on a century right here. So, you just gotta make sure that, you got each machine sorted. And if you can't sort it out right away, so you're waiting on a part, if that part's not coming in a reasonable amount of time, take the vacuum apart and store it somewhere way out of the way. Now, out of sight, out of mind, but the new part coming in should be enough to remind you. And if it isn't enough to remind you, reflect better on what you're collecting. Sorry, I'm recovering from a little sickness. I find myself clearing my throat every 10 minutes. I sound like my boss. Yeah, that's just the nature of, owning a bunch of anything. You don't see people with a bunch of washing machines that haven't been gone through. There are people collecting everything. There are people collecting toilets. There's not too much juxtaposition between collecting a toilet and a vacuum cleaner. They're both collecting human byproducts. And while one gets to flush it away right away and you wipe it down, the other one, if it's bagless, the dust sticks around. If it's bagged, the dust sticks around. That's just the nature of it. So you gotta keep it clean. And if you don't do that to start with, you can get people imposing rules on you. And like this, if you're a certain Redditor, you just got to keep them clean before anyone can even start to have opinions. Because as soon as people start to have opinions, all of a sudden you're not allowed to collect direct air vacuums because there's risk of damaging the motor. Just by nature of how it's made. And while that's not true at all, not having a clean collection can inspire people to do their own research about it and, form their own opinions. So, because they just want to look out for you. They're doing their best to, keep this happy and healthy for everyone. But, they don't have the willingness to begrudge the effort that we do about our own hobby. So, and if they're your caretakers, tough titties. You're just going to have to deal with that. So, that's really just kind of how you have to be in order to collect vacuums. You gotta be on top of shit. Headphone warning. Alright, let me get some more parts. Well, I may not have anything in mind right away, but I think this is time I should start, telling some stories of my own. Or rather, give more specific examples. So, direct air vacuums themselves aren't that dirty, but it's exactly how you take care of them. And the worst offender has to be vintage vacuum cleaners. Vintage vacuum cleaners, they just throw dust in a bag, willy-nilly, haphazardly. They couldn't give a damn. Like, it's all going straight. Let me grab an example over here. See this? It's all going straight into a cloth bag. And if you're not careful about how you store them, it's going to cause you issues. It's starting to rain out. And there isn't insulation in one spot, so it gets loud. Since the dirt's going straight into a bag, if you don't keep that bag clean, things degrade fast. And then, you're stuck with a broken vacuum cleaner and no one to blame. Like, if a vacuum cleaner is going to break, you want it to be someone else who does it so you can make them fork it the fuck up. But now you're just out money, out an original piece of your vacuum cleaner just because you didn't take care of it. And if you think that's bad, here's a fun little story. There's someone who ran a Kirby, much like this, probably newer. I'm not the Kirby guy I used to be. There are better things out there. But they ran it with a broken fan for years, and it not only was it the most hellacious noise you've ever heard, but the rotor looked something like this. See that spot in the middle? That's not sitting on a bearing. That's gonna... I was trying to assemble this motor for a friend of the shop's, and I tried to put, a motor together. Why am I doing this technique? I've never done it like that before. Here's how I get grease on the end of this little lever here. Get your jar, get the lip, get some grease in the lip, and then you just scrape it along. Boom, nice little blob of grease. So, I was trying to assemble this Kirby form. It took us 3 goddamn motors in order to assemble one good one of which was with that rotor. I was like, oh, the bearing on this one's bad, so let's grab another bearing. Because I wiggled it and felt play in the shaft. So, phrasing. So I went and grabbed a different motor bearing, and same thing again. And then I took a closer look and I saw that big, divot in the shaft because it spun. The original bearing must have seized and it spun in there. A spun bearing. So that's when I had to pull. I had to put 3 motors together, I'm pretty sure, to make one. Because if they're all too far apart in age, you start to get things disagreeing with each other. So a 2011, a 2020, and a 2006 motor, I think, combined all into one. Or 2011, 2020, and 2013, or something like that. It was a Centuria 2 we were rebuilding. Yeah. Repairing these things and talking at the same time is like chewing gum and walking. So, we finally got it together, but it just goes to show neglect goes way further than you think. And while we as collectors aren't using these vacuum cleaners, if you're not thoroughly going through them, to be a collector you have to kind of be a repair guy. Like, someone else has gotten to this vacuum before. When I remove them, I don't bend them at all. So, yeah. But yeah, to be a collector, you have to be a bit of a mechanic. And if you're not, take any vacuum you're going to seriously use, or any vacuum you're going to store, to a professional. Or at least watch videos of how professionals do it. Because if you don't, you're just going to end up in more trouble. Now, the number one killer I've seen in vacuum cleaners is just bad brush rollers. They really gunk up the works. They're kind of at the heart of most things. Any single motor vacuum cleaner, which is most residential units. Or, no, I suppose with the rise of Shark and die shit, then Dyson, you're gonna have that. It's all such garbage. And that grease isn't where I want it to be. Yeah. Alright. Well, I guess that's where I'm going to leave this video. I'm going to record another one talking about how I hate Shark and Dyson so much. I had a 30-minute long video explaining it at one point, but I feel like I can be more succinct at this point. I hope you enjoyed this little vacuum cleaner ramble. I hope it wasn't too incoherent.